The African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat and the African Export-Import Bank have signed an agreement on the management of the base fund of the African Continental Free Trade Area Adjustment Fund. BAMIDELE AYEMIBO, an export consultant, joins us to help break this all down. BAMIDELE, thank you for taking the time out to join us today.
Good evening. Good morning, rather. And how are you? Oh, we are in afternoon already.
Yes, indeed we are. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about this for the benefit of our viewers. Just help us understand, first of all, what the adjustment fund is all about.
It is expected that as AfCFTA takes shape and different businesses begin to do shipments and countries are aligned product into their domain without collection of tariff, there will be revenue shortfall. So this adjustment fund basically is to mitigate the impact of the revenue shortfall on different African countries that have signed up to the AfCFTA.
Okay, then let's move on. Now, the facility, we understand, consists of the base, general, and credit funds. Could you break that down for us? What do we need to know about that?
The general and credit fund are not yet, they are still sourcing for that, but the base fund, Negin are committed about $1 billion to that. So this fund will be coming to countries in form of grant and loan to be able to help the country mitigate the short-term funding that they are going to be exposed to. Considering the fact that this will not be for long, even though the plan is to be for the next 10 years, it's not for long because it's expected that as trade begins to grow, countries also are going to begin to see increase in revenue. But at the beginning, we expect a shortfall, and that's why this becomes necessary.
Now, for the general fund, we're also expecting there to be concessional funding. I just wonder what kind of rates, could come with the funding.
I think it's going to be, dollar transaction, funding are usually single digits. So I expect a very low rate, maybe 1, 2, 3%, and probably with some moratorium, just the way a number of all the loans from IMF and World Bank have been. I don't expect anything different from that.
All right, just your general thoughts. You and I have had a conversation on the African Continental Free Trade Area and what we expect, the kind of impact we expect it to have on trade on the African continent, especially from the time when it officially commenced. And also earlier this year, we had the launch of the Pan-African Payment Settlement System, PAPS, which is supposed to also help facilitate payment and clearing of cross-border trade and also save companies or players about $5 billion annually in payment transaction costs. So what does this mean for trade with this fund at concessionary rates? What kind of impact should we expect?
Now, I love the way the Afreximbank, AfCFTA Secretariat are thinking around AfCFTA. They are anticipating ahead the likely impediment, the likely challenges, and putting in place measures to minimize the impact as much as possible. Take, for example, the PAPS. We know that trade cannot happen without payment, and that has been sorted with the launching of Pan-African Payment System. Now, another challenge is, which happened in West Africa, is that I'm shipping to country in West Africa, and sometimes you have some issues at the border, even though we have signed this agreement, but sometimes you still have to pay some fees and levies, and so it's like the countries are finding it difficult to accept, even though they've signed. So different issues between the government and the agency. So the idea here is that if you are having challenge with revenue, here is an opportunity where you can draw from and be able to meet your short-term obligation. So I see all this working together for the good of this program so that at the end of the day, we don't have a situation in which a country says, look, I can't even pay my salaries. I can't run the government. That's why we have to find a way to do what we are doing. So it's a shock absorber to be able to help to ensure the implementation of this program is not in that in any way. I think they're all commendable efforts that AfCFTA Secretariat and Afrexim are putting together at this time.
But do we know if any, I know that this is new, but in terms of how things have progressed so far with the, AfCFTA, who's taken advantage, who's, in terms of the rules of origin, in terms of, accessing more regional markets, what can you tell us in terms of the kind of progress that's been made so far?
There was an announcement made, I think last week, where the ministers of trade of different African countries that have signed and ratified came together, and the Secretary General announced that about 88% rule of origin has been negotiated. 88%. For me, that is humongous. That is commendable. So we are pretty much ready to start, because what has happened is the negotiation of this tariff schedule around the rule of origin and the like, and 88% now having been done, we expect that trade should really start this year, because before, if I'm going to ship to your country, I need to be able to know the products that are on your exclusive list. I need to know the product that are on your we have the 90, 97 and 3%. If I know what is on your exclusive list, if I know what is on your list of products that are not prohibited or that are not restricted, then I know what I can ship your country. And now that is becoming more and more clearer with the announcement made last week. So we expect to see trading actually start very soon in Africa.
Well, that's actually good news, because the rules of origin was one of the biggest areas of concern for so many, for everyone. And there were, concerns that it could actually slow down the process. But then do you think that with what has happened now, has that increased confidence in the way the AfCFTA will progress in terms of pace?
Sincerely, it is. The fact that 54 signed was amazing. A lot of European countries could not even believe it. The fact that over almost 40 have ratified now, and when they're 22, now we have 88 of the item we want to trade negotiated under the rule of origin. I think it's a tremendous progress, and I think it's, in my opinion, boosting a lot of confidence on the progress that we can achieve under the AfCFTA, and the fact that many African countries are actually indeed interested to make this work for the good of African countries.
All right,
and the African people, of course.
We'll leave it there, BAMIDELE. Thank you for talking to us today. We appreciate your time on the show. BAMIDELE AYEMIBO, export consultant.